Yeshua is the living word, and the joy and rejoicing of my heart. Yeshua is the living word.
Shalom, and welcome to Jewish Jewels. I'm Neil, and this is my wife, Jamie.
Shalom.
And we have a very special program for you today. It's about a talis if you're from Europe, or a talit if you're from the Middle East. In English, it's called a prayer shawl, but ultimately it's a garment with four corners, arba kanfot.
And we have some very beautiful ones here with us today. Most of them, as you can see, have a white background. Orthodox Jews prefer wool, but silk or other fabrics are also acceptable. We just brought this one back from Jerusalem. I loved it with the two-tone blue. I thought it was very beautiful. And this one has purple stripes. Look at this, Neil. Isn't this luscious?
Just beautiful.
And on the edges, you can see smaller fringe, but the part of the talit or prayer shawl that has religious significance is the fringe on the corners. There are four fringes and four corners.
Yeah, and there's also on the edge an atara, or crown. It contains the blessing that we say before we put the talit on. It's Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivonu lahitatef b'tzitzit. Blessed art thou, eternal our God, creator of heaven and earth, who has sanctified us by his commandments and has commanded us to wear garments with fringes.
You know, Neil, talitot come in many sizes and colors. I'll never forget, I made this one for Jonathan when he was 2 years old, and he had this little yarmulke. Isn't that so sweet? And I also will never forget the first time we went shopping for talitot on Ben Yehuda Street in Israel. There were so many varieties, so many colors. It was so beautiful. Here you see us just looking in the windows, and of course, we couldn't resist at that time, Neil, buying you a talit.
You often see soldiers like these coming to the Western Wall to pray and put on a talit. Sometimes men come with a knapsack on their back, covered by their garment of glory. And Orthodox men are regularly seen helping visitors to put on a talit.
Neil put on his talit to go to the wall to pray for our Jewish Jewels family. Here we see a group of men opening a Torah scroll, a striking sight with so much white. These men are davening, which is literally the act of praying, the word itself being connected to the word divine. The worshiper's whole body begins to sway with the ebb and flow of the rhythm of the chanted prayers.
Now let's open the Holy Scriptures to see the biblical origin of the use of the tzitzit. It begins here in Numbers chapter 15, verse 37. The Lord spoke to Moses and said, "Tell the children of Israel to make tassels on the corners," tassels or tzitzit, "on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a blue thread in the tassels of the corners. You shall have the tassel that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord and do them, and that you may not follow the harlotry to which your own heart and your own eyes are inclined." The tassel, the fringe, is a tzitzit in Hebrew. Literally, it's the part that you could wrap around your finger if you were to remind yourself of the Word of God. Probably that's where the origin of a string around the finger to remember something comes. And it was to remember the commandments of God and to protect against immorality. It's a holy garment.
You know, Neil, in ancient times, Jewish men and possibly women had garments with fringes on them. Now, Reuben Prager in Jerusalem of Beged Ivri made this garment with fringes for Neil. This is his wedding garment for our 25th anniversary. And we spoke with Reuben. Actually, you interviewed him not too long ago about the whole concept of the garments with fringes.
It used to be custom from the time that we entered the land of Israel up until the year 135 of the Common Era that all of the Israelites, to fulfill the commandment of fringes, would put fringes on the corner of their outer garment. In the year 135, as a result of the Hadrianic persecutions, we were forbidden from wearing our national dress and fulfilling the commandments or even studying about the commandments. So many of the commandments in Judaism went underground, and among them was the commandment of fringes, where we began to, instead of wearing fringes on the corner of our outer garment, we designed a small four-cornered garment that we would tie the fringes to and hide that underneath our Gentile apparel. So if you're familiar with seeing amongst the Orthodox Jews fringes coming out from underneath their belt loops, underneath their Gentile clothes, they're wearing a little four-cornered garment. But because the commandment is to put fringes on the corners of your garments, and the little four-cornered garment that we hide underneath, it's stretching the imagination to call that a garment, so we developed a larger version, which became known as the Talit Gadol, as the large Talit, as opposed to the little Talit. The little Talit was the one that we'd hide underneath. And for the last 1900 years of our exile, what we would do is we would tie fringes on the corners of what became known as a prayer shawl, or the Talit Gadol, and during the hour of the day that we were locked behind a synagogue door in a secret minyan, we could wrap ourselves in a cloth large enough to be considered a garment with its fringes.
Reuben is a traditional Jew, not a Messianic Jew, but one who has a vision to see the men of Jerusalem wearing the biblical garments, the garments with fringes.
Praise the